Anke Ma'at Hotel. Peace. What's happening, world? It's Ahasa. Welcome back to Afrosynthesis. And we got a beautiful one today. First off, I hope you enjoyed the arrangement. I'm switching things up a little bit. I wanted to bring my ancestors and the plants in a little bit more so their spirit can really begin to imbue the conversation some more. When I first started this program, my idea was to very much work in my many plants and ancestors around the room whose spirits I still cultivate, whose energies I'm still working with, so I can make sure, you know what I mean, we get all of the family's karmic debt handled, or as much as possible in my lifetime, helping them, sharing their knowledge, and us, growing in community together. And so today is all about what it means to be present and the natural reality that with being present means holding oneself accountable, right? I shout out to my friend Swank. We was talking a few weeks back and he was like, man, like it's wild because people really don't know how to be present. And so I've been marinating with that, and I've been letting that kind of sit with my consciousness. And so, yeah, today we're having that conversation, right? Let's start there. Let's start with the word present being, right, a noun, or excuse me, when you're using present as an adjective, you're using present to describe being somewhere with something or with someone, right? And so I know for those who are deep into like English and language and etymology and things like that, you're looking at the present participle, which is going to be, right, like they say it's be before. And so think about that. How might you think of being present differently if someone was to say, like, yo, be before yourself? Like, that's powerful, right? You remember when the teacher used to call roll or call attendance, and, they'd be like, look, back in the day, like, Wesley, here, or like, Wesley, present. It's like, present gives off a different energy, right? When someone says here, that energy that's being given off is, where you see me, my body is where I am. When you say present, it says, I stand ready, like before myself, right? If present means to be before, our consciousness should stand before us. Right. You know how people, when they walk into a room and they've done a lot of good work, a lot of good business, they are respected in their community and whatnot. They walk in the room and they say like, oh, my resume, reputation precedes me. What does that mean? When I walk into a room, who I am is known because when I walk into my room, the reputation, right, who I have been walks in before who I am right now. That's what it means to be present. That means for your consciousness to stand before your person, your body, your mental, right? And so how do we do that? If we are stuck in ourselves, if we're in this like mode of, right, what we said, that survival mindset, when we're locked into a mindset and needing to unlock it, right? We have to be present. And so I have 3 things to speak of to add towards being present. All right. In my journey, I realized that was 2016. It started with a book called Body Mind Balancing by Osho, Osho. Wonderful book about meditation. But what the book really was helping me do was helping me learn how to consciously breathe. So that's number 1. We have to consciously breathe, right? Just because an act is involuntary does not mean we shouldn't have and understand our full control of it. Right? It's like, oh, well, blinking involuntary, breathing involuntary, so you never have to think about it. No. Just because it's involuntary doesn't mean we shouldn't think about it and know what it does, right? If you look at the science, right, when you slow, deep breathe, What do I have written? It helps. Yeah, it helps to do two things: heighten our parasympathetic nervous system while also calming our sympathetic nervous system. Not getting too deep into the sciences of either, right? Because you have a phone at your fingertips. Consider the parasympathetic nervous system rest and digest, and your sympathetic nervous system as that fight or flight that we're used to, right? If we're fighting something, we're tense. You should be in flow, right? Like the most conscious fighters they're conscious. They're not even in their sympathetic. They're in flow. But most people you're not moving about as consciously, right? And so what we need to do is we need to breathe slowly and breathe consciously in order to regain control of something that is more often than not involuntary, right? If you want to stand before yourself, you have to come all the way back to yourself. That means taking over all actions again. We know that the first is breath. So we have to, right? We got to take back control of our breath. When's the last time you sat down and counted each breath? Do that and see how far you can go before you stop counting. And then whatever range that number's in, right? Because you might not remember where you actually stopped counting because you just stopped counting. Whatever that range is, just try to go 10 above that range. So if you ended in the 30s, the next time you try the exercise, go for the 40s. And that doesn't mean count to 40. You should be focusing on breathing 40 breaths. Again, the difference. You see how we went from just you hearing me to like feeling what I was saying? Yeah, we're not counting. We're breathing breaths. And by breathing breaths, we come to know our count, right? But it's by being present that we know where we are. We don't need to just figure out where we are and continue from there. That doesn't necessarily let us stand before ourselves. We might just be next to or right behind. And so with that being said, once you've controlled your thought, excuse me, I'm moving ahead. Check me out. Once you've controlled your breath, you can control your thoughts, right? And so I ask you this question. Are you controlling what you think, or are you letting external stimuli, just all the happenings, happen around you and then run through your mind, and you're trying to sift through and organize it, right? On that side duck, you Mr. Krabs kind of thrown off, right? We got to control our thought. What naturally comes about when we begin to try to control our thinking is that we control our stimulus. We're controlling our music. What are we listening to? You ever woke up and started singing lyrics unconsciously that you didn't want to sing? Or you're singing lyrics that you know and that you like maybe in the gym, but you don't want that sitting on your heart and your consciousness and your mind at 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, right? Like you remember when was it Kevin Hart or was it was Cat Williams? He's like, you gang banging on breakfast? Like, why you don't want that on you? So right, you start when you're controlling your thoughts to try to get your mind in order. You control what you listen to, and you're controlling how often you think about the things you think about, because it's okay to think about things, but it might be an unhealthy amount of thinking. You're not thinking, now you're pondering, now you're sulking. It's another word after a certain point in time, right? And so when you are controlling your thought, you're consciously being aware of what you're taking in and its effect on you. You're aware of the conversations you're having, right? Because when you're conversating or when you're conversing with someone, you're speaking. When you're speaking, that means you're in a type of word flow with that person. And if you're listening, you might also be thinking about what they said in order to respond, right? In this process, your mind and your thoughts are naturally in motion in a conversation. And so when you are beginning to control your thoughts now in this mode of remaining present, you begin to see what you're contributing to the conversation. And what does contributing that to that conversation do for you? And you begin to, again, take back this energy that is lapsing. If you want to stand before yourself, you have to retake the things that are moving your mind's eye and your consciousness away from the present here and now, right? And that makes sense because a thought is like a mental byproduct. It is a it shows what you're considering. And that's why they're like, on second thought, what's that? No, that's the second consideration, right? But what I love about this, again, once you control your breath and then you control your thoughts, the consequence of that is that you get to control your actions, right? And your actions are the way things come into being. You thought it, spoke or acted it into existence, right? One, people be like, well, action speaks louder than words. What I want y'all to take hold of is that it does not say that speaking isn't an action, because speaking is an action. But most people don't hold up their speech with the proper reality or bringing it into being. And so that's why we're like, actions speak louder than words, which is almost to say words don't mean nothing. And in our world, words mean everything. We just have to be conscious enough to say them, mean them, and will them to be. And that's the last part. Again, the will of something. When you begin to think and consider different, your will makes the way for that to come into being. So when you're not controlling your thoughts, you're willing a whole bunch of things into existence that you don't realize. You're just wasting energy. But when your focus is concentrated, your efforts are increased, right? Because it's concentrated. You ever bought something when it was like made from concentrate? That's the extra real version of that thing. Same thing when you concentrate your own thought and energy, right? Because as you control your thoughts, you begin to mentally will your thoughts to be. You know how they have that phrase, where there's a will, there's a way? What they didn't tell you and what's not said, but assumed you will hopefully know, is that the will is the maker of the way. When you are willing something to be, when you are putting your mind, your energy, and your spirit into making something happen, you're controlling how you think about it so that you know how to approach it. And when you know how to approach it, then you know how to act. And in that acting, while in this conscious flow of thought about what you're wanting to will, that creates the space for our divine intuition to come in and give us those aha moments, right? Those impressions, those inklings, those things that people are like, I just got lucky. No, that was your divine intuition having space to influence you because your will made a way for it. Does that make sense? Like, what's dope about that, right? Check this out. In the Kemetic tradition, Djehuty, or who the Greeks call Thoth, Thoth, which sounds like thought. Djehuty is the embodiment of divine wisdom. And so Djehuty is also, you see him with the ibis head as the record keeper. He's the one who holds records. He is keeping you accountable to what you did, who you were, who you are, right? Check this out. It's a beautiful symbolism because I talked about, we're going to say how being present ultimately comes to being accountable. When you're present, you know where you are. You're answerable to what is going on. Accountability literally means liable to be called to account. And when you look at the word or the etymology of accountability, accounting, any of those type words, that same root that you get, you always find littered in the words or in the definitions is the word to reckon. Why? Because a reckoning of something is literally a making it straight. And so if you are trying to, you got two issues and you got to reckon between them, you got to find a way to make that alignment. And so when we are coming into our consciousness, we are reckoning what is and what isn't so that we know fully where we are. We are getting real with oneself, right? When you got to do a financial audit and you got the accountant coming in, what are they about to come in and do? Find every penny and make note of where it went and why, or find every penny that's missing and see what happened and where it went. Instead of saying money, why don't we be accountants for ourselves and know that money is just a symbol for energy? And so we need to think about where our energy is going. We have to hold ourselves accountable. That's the only way to be present, right? And look at that. Djehuty, divine wisdom. The recorder is the symbol all for that same thing, right? And so when we hold ourselves accountable, we have to hold ourselves accountable to something. I am comedic. So for me, I hold myself accountable to Ma'at. We just had Hinek Ma'at, which is our rededication of ourselves to Ma'at. And right, Ma'at is truth, justice, order, balance, harmony, righteousness, and reciprocity. I have been getting in total, right? I've been reckoning with my own reality. Shout out to my mother, shout out to my father, shout out to my grandmother, shout out to my sister, shout out to my friends, shout out to my loved ones. Like, I have been speaking with you all heavy, and you all know what's going on, right? Because it's time for me to reckon and come into account with things. Being truly financially dependent looks like cutting out all cracks, right? Fixing, sealing all leaks, getting your plumbing together, right? It means taking that clog and removing it. And in doing that, right, I am willing things in order. And when I will things in order, again, that makes the way for Djehuty, divine intuition, your divine mind, to bring into being that what you want. So I appreciate you all for coming, for hanging out with me. I feel like I was just kind of flowing in and out of myself a little bit. So if I seemed like I wasn't here, no, I felt like I was watching myself with you at a time. I was definitely present. And I appreciate you for coming here, tuning in, resonating with me. I want you to keep your vibrations high, stay up out here. Remember that we can do whatever we want to do. I'm just speaking. I'm about to get out of here. No, I'm playing. Y'all, this is what life looks like. Life looks like figuring it out one day at a time, 1 second at a time, until you're fully present. And once you're fully present, you understand exactly where you are in the space-time continuum, which means the past and the present. You're familiar with it all because you're in one space, and that's all of it simultaneously, right? I'm going to give y'all this simple. Now, your future self, you know who you want to be, and you know how your future self acts. Take your future self and ask your future self to do an audit of your current self, of your present self. what needs to change, what is missing, what needs to be re-added. And then will that reality into being. And what you just did is you saw that being present and being accountable is allowing your higher self, your self that is to be and to come into existence, to organize your present self. AKA your future is taking immediate effect on your present in order to bring itself into being. That is a divine reckoning. That is our mission. The mission is my art. And with that being said, I'm going to see y'all next week. So it is and so shall it be. Be easy. Yeah, we're going to figure out. Look, we're in a good mood now. Now we're talking. I want to figure out a nice little intro, outro. We're going to be working on some things. Tell me how you felt about the set. It's not a set. It's real life. But yeah, y'all know what I mean.